All right, here we go. Welcome into the Knoll Road Steelers fans. Dawson and Newbear with you. Midway through Steelers training camp, we're suddenly met with the narrative Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense is struggling big time. Tell us in the comments below, 1 to 10, how high is your Steelers offense concerned 2 weeks into training camp? Go ahead and leave a number down there. Here we go.
Then to the corner of the end zone. For a touchdown!
Yeah, buddy, I'm Gavin Dawson, 25-year sports radio veteran, and with me, as always, there he is, my favorite football Neanderthal who happens to have gone all academic SEC at Kentucky. How the hell are you, New Bearless Newsgate?
I'm just deep in the weeds, RELAX. Yeah. 3 weeks into 2014 ends with an Aaron Rodgers MVP, and he opens 62.7, finishes 65.6. So I don't know what the math is, but he had to be even better than that to get that high, right? I mean, there's so much talk about this guy, and that's what's so great about having him here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to jump into this article and salute to the author here and the insider that he quotes, DeFabo. Get that name right? DeFabo. Okay. During Sunday's practice, Rodgers did find Metcalf on a deep crosser thanks to some blown coverage, but that touchdown's the outlier in an offense that's relied overwhelmingly on short, quick passes or checkdowns. During 7-on-7, Rodgers overthrew Metcalf on a pair of vertical routes. This comes days after Rodgers and Metcalf failed to connect in a go route during the 2-minute drill to end Friday Night Lights. Listen, I'm not that concerned about go routes. I mean, what's the completion percentage on those actually? Like 25%, 30%, something like that. And Aaron Rodgers has been a short game master in the passing game his entire career. And I like it because more than ever in the NFL, they're making you throw short, and Rodgers might be the GOAT at it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if the answer to Tampa 2 is what seems, and then my guy being better than your guy, whole shots. The one thing I know we're going to get into, I don't know, some cones and Aaron Rodgers versus cones and some of the other things that he's gone viral for. And
there's that. I think that might be the flashpoint, right? Well, that funny. Let me see if I can find that. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
All the questions about this dude in age 41, none of them are about the arm talent. You watch that ball spin, and everyone just goes, "Damn, son!" Right? Like this. There's no question that the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, like everything's still good. We're talking about the Achilles. We're talking about the legs. We're talking about, and then he goes and hits L2 on Friday Night Lights. So he's answering questions, and then new ones arise, and it feels like the question of the day, the question du jour, has morphed from wide receiver 2 to kind of globally, like, what's wrong with, I mean, not this dude. I mean, everyone thinks he's going to be fine, but like all the dudes around dude.
So we'll hear from Aaron Rodgers in a second, but this is the footwork drill that what people are saying he's looking every bit the boomer that he is at this point in his career. I can relate to that as a guy who went through like ankle reconstruction. I think the Achilles recovery and just kind of what it does to your balance and strength is somewhat similar. And this is my primary concern with the Steelers offense right now is just once you get into live rounds, how clean do you have to keep Aaron Rodgers to turn that howitzer loose at this point? Because I don't know if he can recreate the platform like he used to.
Yeah, I don't think he's at the point of Peyton Manning literally laying down when anybody comes free, but this is definitely concerning. I mean, this is definitely the first time I saw it, the tweet was actually positive, and then you realize, oh no, this is an okie doke. That's a crying emoji, not a laughing crying emoji. That dude is just sobbing that Unk is old.
Unk does not still got it when it comes to the, turbo button that he used to play with, his ability to escape. I don't think he ever had, one of those reputations as one of the most dangerous runners for touchdowns. But when he needed to, dude, he was electric really with his quickness. And then he could throw while running to either side, So I guess the point that I'm making is even though he's old, he could lose a lot and still be pretty dang good in the mobility department.
If you ask the outset of this segment or this section, what are we calling these little? What is it?
Show?
The show in totality, but the topic, what I was looking for.
Topic, yeah.
This topic was, almost like you said, how well do you have to protect him? How clean do you have to keep 8? But it's also like how well can he protect himself? And that was the thing in Green Bay in particular. I mean, he takes sacks, and there's years where, you look at the end of the year and the counting stats and you're like, damn, man, MVP was on his ass, right? Oh. But the reason he does that is because he's trusting his feet. And like you said, his ability to throw on the run as well, if not better than anyone in NFL history. And what you wonder about here is not even the ability to move, pick up a first down, move, score a touchdown, like you said, but move and hit that back-breaking play, but really just move well enough to be able to protect himself if particularly the left side of this line that we haven't even really seen together yet isn't right, isn't ready, can't get the job done as we start ramping up and the bullets start flying, like you said.
I think it's also important to include the fact that, these cone drills are testing all the different ranges of motion. And if he's got to do that in the pocket, yes, maybe he's not as good as he was as a younger man. But check out what we found from Jets training camp just last year. Would love to show you some game footage from last year of the NFL season, but they'll copyright flag us for that. But we can show Jets training camp and look at this play. Boom, he's gone. He's out of there, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this looks just like the one he hits in week 3 against New England, right? So this stuff training, you can say, oh, that's just practice. He's in a red jersey, but this translates. He basically did this exact thing, I think, week 3, right, against New England. So this is the kind of stuff where you're not just protecting yourself, from yourself and from what the line can't do. This is now going and turning the corner and making plays. This is vintage 12, now 8.
Now, another funny thing about how this story goes is, this article was posted Monday night. Our last show on the Knoll Road was Sunday because I got sick when we weren't able to rock Monday night or Tuesday, but we're real happy to be back here with you tonight. And thanks for being patient with me, New Bear, as I recovered. But, Aaron Rodgers has actually started cooking a little bit. And so we go to this morning in Latrobe, in the worst audio media setup in the league, where super loud golf carts and horrible recording devices rule the day. So I'll probably have to go back and post-prod and boost this. But Aaron Rodgers is basically talking about right here how it's been looking pretty good the last 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days, much better. Our defense, obviously we added a lot of pieces to it. Always early in camp with the pads going, the defense seems to have the upper edge. And then the second week, it starts to turn a little bit. So I feel like we've been playing better the last week and a half.
So pretty normal stuff. Specifically, it's been Roman Wilson, who's had back-to-back banner days, perhaps taking some leadership from his veteran QB.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, we've got other clips or other tweets, and you go through the entire timeline and the entire media feed, if you will, that he's literally saying to this kid, look, you just got to get out of your head. You just got to be able to play free. You've got so much damn talent. Don't worry about the one thing that goes viral because Darius Slade bodies him.
He's such a good kid. He cares so much about whether it's my approval or he's doing it right. And he just got to trust himself because he's so damn talented. The more he can play free and not think out there, the better he's going to play. So the more he can just trust what he's got and then just go out and react, the better he can play.
There goes the golf cart right on cue. But yes, I think that's a big key for a lot of young players is at what point can you get to the place where you're not thinking anymore. You're just reading and reacting. Because if you're thinking, you just react slow.
Well, I mean, all the things that we talked about with Terry McLaurin, with the potential trade rumors, 11 catches. He only had 35 catches, but he had 11 touchdown catches. So basically 1 out of every 3 times he's catching the ball, it's a tutty. Roman Wilson did that same type of thing for the national championship Wolverines on almost 50 catches. When you start talking about catching 50 balls, 48, and catching 12 touchdowns and clearly being the guy on a run first, slow everything down, shrink the game. Hell, Jim Harbaugh would punt on third down if he thought it would give him an advantage. I mean, J.J. McCarthy only threw the ball 330 times in 15 games that year. I mean, this is the definition of the numbers don't matter as much as the impact they make. And all he did was lead the team, lead the league, push himself into a place where we're now pissed off that he hasn't risen to this place that we thought he'd already be. Let's not forget multiple injuries. Let's not forget barely saw the field as a rookie. Let's not forget competition. The other guys are getting paid too. And let's not forget that all it takes is these first couple of days where one becomes two becomes three. The talent and the production go hand in hand. It becomes a seamless thing once this guy turns the corner, and Aaron Rodgers is the one who's going to unlock him and allow him to play as free as anybody in camp.
And let's not forget to thank 93.7 The Fan and Mark Cabali there for the audio. And congrats to Mark for getting unstuck from that parking the other day. That was so fun to watch him celebrate at the end. The high fives were epic.
A real neat thing, too, that Kaboom does is he kind of leads the witness with the tweet, the body copy, if you will, of the tweet, where, you know, the audio being lower and maybe some of these guys take a little bit, take a minute to make their point, or you can't hear it because there's a lawnmower or a golf cart or something, an airplane, who knows, right? But he does a real nice job. Like in this one with Rodgers, he talked about how the quick little line was Aaron Rodgers talks about how the offense has been clicking for 4 days, and the narrative is different from everyone else. And it's just this quick little 20 seconds. And if you blink or you got the earphones in and the Bluetooth goes out for a second, you miss it. If you get the lawnmower, you miss it. But Kaboom does a real nice job of kind of leading the witness to a point where you pay extra attention and go, wait a minute, what did he really say? Or what am I reading the tea leaves or reading between the lines? And Aaron Rodgers does not mince words. And what he's saying is, I feel a lot better than maybe everyone feels about us.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel pretty good about him. He's 41 years old. I think it's definitely possible for the end to come at that age. Either a guy can't stay healthy or can't perform, doesn't have the balance, the quick decisions and all that. But I think based on what we saw last year with the Jets and this team's even further commitment with the Steelers to a power game with lots of tight ends, lots of over the middle, dink and dunk chances. And if Caleb Johnson is good, they have enough with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know if he's a top 10 or maybe you got to go out to top 15. But when you're dealing with a champion, when you're dealing with a veteran in high pressure situations, what they're able to do often makes up for their lack of youth and explosiveness in their body.
Well, you talked about like if he could give them what he gave the Jets last year. I mean, let's not forget 5-12 is the ugly crooked number, and you focus on that because this is a team that, you know, he left Green Bay, went to New York, and they were betting favorites in a lot of people's eyes, and it was just a matter of time before this dude was just kind of giving double birds to everybody, saying, I got a whole lot more left in the tank. And then that flag gets planted in the very first start of the season. It's all over before it even gets going, and he's got to come all the way back around from that. And lost in the wash of, you know, Devontae Adams and his best friend and Nathaniel Hackett and everything that Woody Johnson did or didn't do, and the Jets do or don't do on a year in, year out, decade in, decade out basis. You know, 3,900 yards, 28 tutties is substantially more than the average the Steelers have been getting since the end of Big Ben.
But I was trying to segue there into this story here. Aaron Rodgers telling receivers to run their routes like you're going to get the ball. I think this is their first taste of how tough Aaron Rodgers has been on his wide receivers throughout his career. By the way, salute to Steelers Depot here and the writer Matthew Marzi. Appreciate the fine work that you're doing, giving us, you know, the visuals, the websites to click on and click through your stories and whatnot. So, but yeah, like, he had authority in Green Bay to kick a guy off the starting lineup if he didn't think he was doing his job, and he'd embarrass him and throw him out of practice if he kept making the same mistakes. So I imagine he's a little bit wiser and a little bit more even-tempered with his approach these days. But if you're not doing what the playbook calls for, Aaron Rodgers is going to notice and let you know about it, and I love it.
Well, scroll back up to the headline. Let's let the man get credit for what the work he put into the world. This is why the numbers almost don't even matter. You can talk about, you know, 3,900 and 229 yards a game versus what Russ would have done if he played the whole season, you know, at 225 or what the counting stats are, how they're, fluffed up in end of game situations when the game's gotten away from you or whatever the case may be. What's really important about telling the receivers, and that being the mentality, the mantra, the modus operandi, is that if you are whoever you are, wide receiver 2, we hope you emerge. We can't wait to see you, can't wait to meet you, can't wait to watch you lay up or dunk the goalpost. But this tight end room, Caleb Johnson, et cetera, et al., if they play like Pickens did, where if he wasn't getting the ball, he'd ostensibly take the play off, then this is a loss all the way around. Erasing that alone, the team thinks from the inside out they'll be able to solve a lot of their problems just from an effort, attitude, awareness perspective, where guys are where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and he can make magic happen if you can just get in control of all of those little details. And that I do believe in today's NFL separates the good from the average and the bad quite well, because there's just only so many things you can do unless you're willing to take out loans or sell equity in your team like the Eagles and just buy up more players with signing bonuses. There's not a lot you can do. But if your coaching staff can teach those details and you get enough players to hold each other accountable on executing them, I think you can be looking at something real special.
Well, this is also just to give you like a one little plus up about how we're talking about him in cone drills, and we're showing highlights of him from 2024 Jets camp. If he can go from being able to protect himself to being able to step out of trouble and make those plays, this is why he's sending this message now. When Aaron Rodgers is feeling himself and he's playing like he knows he still can, that scramble drill stuff, that plus up stuff beyond the slants, beyond the in rhythm, beyond the seam stretching beating Tampa 2, that next level is where he plans to take this team.
Okay, up next here on the Knoll Road, Will Howard, broken finger, quite a bummer, expected to miss 3 weeks, could take him out all the preseason action, probably will. I mean, I'd be surprised to see him play. Now, I think it's Skylar Thompson time, isn't it? And it's a massive bummer for me, New Bear, because Will doesn't get to play in the preseason, which means I'll have to sit through a year of you telling me that he's got Big Ben aura.
Well, it's not just me. I mean, Steelers Twitter loves to talk about it. There's a great one of him going around just like taping his hands, where people just love the way the young man looks. And
is he a model or something? What is it? I mean, I can't judge dudes' good looks, but he must be one charismatic son of a gun.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those aw shucks kind of things where, we talk about how the moment wasn't too big on the way to a national championship, but then he gets out there and you put 10 microphones in his face, or he makes that first mistake. At the same time, when there's
no stance, look at that, dude. That's leadership right there.
Well, he's a sturdy young man. I mean, when you talk about 6'4", 236, I mean,
college football couldn't handle him.
He is put together, and he ran Q run at K-State, and then he threw the ball over your head when he had better dudes to go deep. And that's the thing that I think we're all going to miss out on, is this unique, won't go as far as saying unicorn at 4.75, but it still is unique to be this big and be able to move this well, to also have been a running or a run first or a run dominant system, and then become a guy who becomes a technician and is really beating teams with your arm, and to be able to show all of those things and then get out there when the bullets start flying and everything's happening and fast forward. And it's your first time in black and gold. Someone comes free, right? Because you miss a call, or whoever's subbing in for Zach Frazier as your center misses the dude, even if you get it right. And what we're really missing is the fast forward part of the conversation, where if they don't move some of these picks to truly go all in on 2025, that quarterback sweepstakes heats up in 2026.
All right, I love it. Next on the Knoll Road, we go to Coach Tomlin on CBS Sports HQ, talking about the Q.
For Aaron Rodgers, outside of that Hall of Fame resume, why was he the right guy to help lead this offense?
Because it's his love affair with the game of football. Man, it's, from the outside, you see it, you know it, particularly when you're in this business like I am, you know what it looks like, what it smells like. But to be around him every day and see the genuine joy that he has doing mundane things, the love affair that he has with the game of football, man, is contagious.
I love how he vouched for Rodgers there, making a statement to the nation, to Steelers Nation, and to fans everywhere that Aaron Rodgers is not the narrative. Okay. He's not a guy we need to tear down like Terry Bradshaw thought. I would love to hear a little bit more about the football stuff, but I think it's worth telling to anybody that might not know it now just how intense of a grinder Aaron Rodgers has been.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it earlier where, he was talking about how he's got an open door policy and anyone can come to him at any time. And if they like the schematic idea, he'll take it right to Artie. At the same time, Rodgers is also playing games from, across the pecking order. Everyone knows DK, number 4, is wide receiver 1. We're anticipating him, and if you drafted him in fantasy football, hoping for a Megatron, 200 target type of year. But he's going to see 150 balls, and everyone knows he's the guy. First pass of camp intercepted, almost every first pass of every practice since to DK. So as we go through this thing, he's also messing with DK Metcalf, and he's refusing to play video games. And DK is issuing statements about how he's pissed that Aaron Rodgers is getting on the sticks with the rest of the guys.
Man, I bet Aaron Rodgers is an absolute demon at video games, dude.
I bet he's a demon at everything. That's like that Tom Brady, Mahomes, like all these guys with all the different things where you go, wait, do you really want to play putt against? How serious they take some of this stuff? Forget the eye hand, like the things that would actually, make them functionally good. I'm talking about those competitive juices flowing no matter where you are, even if it's for free and there's nothing on it except for bragging rights with the young guys.
What I think is surprising for a lot of people because of how toxic it appeared things got in Green Bay, and then the ayahuasca, the silent treatment, and everything that Aaron Rodgers has, talked about over the last couple of 2-3 years, the controversy around, his vaccination status and all that nonsense. It's like his reputation, even though he was coming off back-to-back MVPs, took a significant hit. And I just love hearing these stories about him having a little bit of a troll bit going with DK Metcalf and playing video games with the younger guys. He's still a dude. And the great thing about being a dude, doesn't matter how young you are as far as being a rookie, or you can be the oldest man there. But if you're that guy, the age doesn't matter.
Yeah, dudes being bros don't check birth certificates or IDs, right? It's one of those things where, whatever sport you're talking about, hazing always comes with such a negative connotation, and there are things that have happened that have been banned or things that, we've otherwise eradicated from, the locker room. But the hazing part of bonding, the teasing part of it that maybe verges on going a little bit to whatever that line is today, and whatever you are allowed to do and say and just kind of mess with people and push people, because there's a camera everywhere. For crying out loud, someone got a cell phone camera of old man Father Time being undefeated through some cones, and now we're talking about how Unc got old and it's over before it even starts. Like, to know that these guys still have a few stolen moments back in the dorms where their feet are hanging off the bed and they got a red, green, yellow, or red, yellow, white plugged into some old school TV that's thicker than me. It makes my heart sing.
Okay, it made my heart perk up listening to A-Rod talk about Arthur Smith. You just referenced it a few moments ago. Here's Rodgers, and thanks to the fan once again for making this audio happen.
The guy that said yesterday for like 2.5 hours, and it was fucking ball. And it's not all like X's and O's. It's, it's storytelling from time to time, but he's not a rigid guy at all. So anything that ideas that I have, or ideas that some of the receivers are giving me to give him.
There goes the golf cart right on cue. So I'm going to end it right there. It's inaudible for the rest of his answer, but I love that he said he's not rigid and he's taking ideas. I think the best offensive minds, they fall into this trap thinking that they got the answers, and then they're not the best offensive minds for a while. But I mentioned Andy Reid back there. One of the great things Andy Reid does is he challenges all of his guys every week to bring me plays who can get something in the game. And it's been happening, for Andy all the way back into the 90s with John Gruden and Steve Mariucci and those staffs up there, Holmgren with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Green Bay Packers rather. So, and on that note, I don't know if Andy Reid gets enough credit for being an amazing head coach. I would just try to emulate everything that he does. Arthur Smith being open-minded to other people's ideas is huge, not just because you want the best plays, New Bear, but because you need a guy that is going to be flexible to avoid Aaron Rodgers' dark side coming out, because you know he can be a son of a gun if he doesn't like his coach. We saw it last year.
You know, I had a thought about this relative to what I would do, right? If it was the end of it and I'd been really, really, really mangled, like where my body had broken. You know, breaking a bone is one thing. That's a pretty clean element. You take a picture, there's black space, it heals stronger, and it's a pretty simple, straightforward process. The ligaments, the cartilage, the tissue, you know, all the connective stuff is a completely different deal. And the Achilles is arguably the worst one you can do. And especially when you're talking about athleticism, especially when you're talking about a guy getting in and out of stuff, as well as anybody who's ever done it, on top of the arm talent, right? The athleticism and the pocket awareness and the ability to be able to bank on that. What would you do at 40 if you left the only place you'd ever been after you'd been to the mountaintop and been the MVP 4 times and all the other things that go with Aaron Rodgers, and it all goes to hell in a handbasket? Wouldn't you want some of your friends? Wouldn't you say, I've earned that right? Wouldn't you say, give me Nathaniel Hackett, give me Devontae Adams, give me every damn thing I want, because if I'm not right, I don't trust this, I don't have a chance. This is the opposite of that, because the standard and 18 non-losing seasons and all the other things that come with the way Rooney, Tomlin, company do business. Omar Khan might be different than Colbert, but it doesn't mean that everything has changed and it's just all doors open at all times.
It's like the success prevents them from continuing to be successful because they think they can get everything their way now. It's like the musician who signs to a great label, has a hit record, and then decides they want to write and produce their second one. You know, and their second one's a major flop. I think for Aaron Rodgers, that's key right there. Like, the fact that he really respects this organization and the coaching staff coming in puts maybe back into a younger man's outlook as far as the give and take from the superstar and the organization.
When Brady went to Tampa, BA, Bruce Arians, who's just, I mean, you talk about people not getting credit. Think about how good Bruce and Ben were. Think about how good Bruce was when he retired and then, you know, matriculated on to being coach of the year in a few other places. But when Brady first went to Tampa and he was trying to learn BA's system, how long was it before you heard on TV, Linda, they've met in the middle at least, if not swung back in Brady's favor, where, you know, other people were calling things the way that he'd called it for 20 years. That's all I'm saying, is that if it was ever going to be a place where we were going to get the best, coolest Aaron Rodgers you'd want to have a beer with version, it was only going to happen in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, on the way to, I'm still going to call it Heinz Field.
I love it. Dawson and Newbear here on the Knoll Road. You know, I wanted to take a moment here and just put all this in the context of how amazing this defense might be. And I guess it was Juan Thornhill who yesterday said this might be the greatest defense of all time. You know, and if you feed the disappointment, what Rodgers said, you know, typically in the second week, once the pads start coming on, defense has the advantage, but over time the offense gets the advantage. Hopefully that's what we're seeing, you know, and that's going to, hopefully it's so good that we never really feel great about this Steelers offense and Aaron Rodgers until we get into September.
Well, that's one of the great hopes of this, is that Madden's right, that signing those checks for TJ Watt was the right thing to do, et cetera, et al. Because as you go up and down the line, the moves they've made, the money they've spent, the picks they've moved, et cetera, et al. One more time means one thing. This could very well be, I won't go as far as all time just yet because we got to see it happen. But what if it is just the best in the league this year, right now, this time? Then what that means is every time you go out there and you take the field against somebody else, guess what? They're not as good as that. And at the very least, you should be able to do better in games than you can against your own guys in practice.
I haven't heard this yet on my own accord. I gotta, you know, hear for myself if he's just trying to kiss butt as the new guy, or if he really believes this. Here we go. Why am I not hearing it now? Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go.
I think it can be one of the best of all time. Really? And I'm putting that in there now, one of the best of all time.
Oh, no, he backed it up.
And
I'm putting that in there. He doubled down.
What would hold it back? Well, I mean, it's definitely not the rookie. This guy, Derrick Harmon, I find it amazing that we're 2 weeks into camp. There's been so little mention of this guy. Just an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And it's going to step in and help your pass rush in a major way. Like 6 to 8 sacks as a rookie from the inside, I think is a realistic top end goal for this dude.
Well, I mean, let's not forget Highsmith's already dealing with the groin. Let's not forget Juan Thornhill is saying the same thing right after he's talking about maybe being the greatest defense of all time. He's also going right down and doing a sit down with a reporter like he did 2 years in a row in Cleveland, saying nothing to see here, all good, I'm fine, after being injured and not being the same player that he'd been previously in Kansas City. He was a very good player on some very good teams. So that's the first place that you have to go is the injury gods and his health, because once you start chipping away at that depth, all of a sudden, if TJ Watt is a guy who can maybe actually take a few plays off and he's not expected to play 1,200 snaps because you have Highsmith and Herbig and Sawyer and you're able to rotate through fresh and not have a drop off, then now if Highsmith were to miss time, you're taking a key guy out and you're changing the math of what these guys want to do straight out the gate.
Yeah, Steelers Depot, Matthew Marcy with another headline here. Harmon has Steelers buzzing internally with Duloc saying they're thinking this pick is a home run. He's terrific and gonna be terrific. And last year at Oregon, I'm from Pac-10 country originally, so I always have my eye especially out on these guys, and it's just crazy how from the time that we worked there together many years ago at the Fan in Portland, New Bear, how this has now become a program that produces, multiple premium type of prospects in a cycle. I think back then it was Joey Harrington, and then Haloti Ngata came through, and Jonathan Stewart, maybe in my 10 years or so covering the team, there weren't that many. But this guy, 7 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks at Michigan, 11 TFLs and 5 at Oregon, plus 4 passes defended and 2 forced fumbles. Like, he's not just a big, strong guy who's twitchy, right? He's a full-on football player that happens to be a monster.
Yeah, and when you talk about being a Pac-12 guy and Michigan at all, let's not forget they're all Big Ten now. It's Power 4. It's a super conference, right? And that these guys are all playing each other. So he wasn't just out there playing, the little sisters of the poor because everybody else left to join the Big Ten. They actually left Oregon State and some of the other
Wazoo up there by themselves, and now they're looking at like Texas State. Will you please come?
So as we go through this, one of the things that's really important to make note of is that whether it's Highsmith or Herbig and all these guys who are going to go hunt, is that Harmon's impact might actually not be felt in the counting stats. It's about pressures, it's about win rate, it's about the overall success of the defense. And him coming out, he might not be a 10-sack guy ever. It's one of those things where if that happens, that's a bonus on top of it. You look at Cam Hayward's stats when he was young versus what Cam Hayward quite literally grew into and became, and the way that roles change and shift and mold, not just within the system, but from game to game, week to week, and what you're charged with. One of the great things about the way they do things and what they're going to task him with is that he's going to be in a lot more situations than if he had gone to a lesser team with lesser talent, than being opposite TJ Watt, being next to Cam Hayward, and having a bunch of other dudes running around the secondary that might just be coming too, because apparently Ramsey won't stop blitzing off the corner.
Yes, I think that's what gives me the confidence this guy could be an absolute game wrecker and maybe even produce more than he did in college, is because now there are so many other guys that you have to emphasize and you have to double team. And maybe Harmon's going to step in and be one of them, but this team's goal should be the Eagles from 2 years ago or 3 years ago with that 70 sack season. Like the goal should be to make this an absolute nightmare. And you better be able to get a lead against us, because if the Steelers can make you one dimensional, then you're in for potential trip to the hospital.
One of the reasons that what changed in Oregon beyond the conference realignment is Dan Lanning. And that's a Georgia guy. That's an SEC guy. And when you look at both sides of the ball at Oregon, offense and defense, we talked a bunch about some of the guys coming out on the other side and different numbers that they did or did not produce, different plays that they did or did not make. And it all comes back to like Bo Nix or whoever the quarterback is going to have these Heisman level stats, but there might be 4, 5, 6 guys catching 50 balls. Defense the same way. They're like a rabid pack of dogs. They're rotating guys. They're playing deep. They're playing fresh. And so he's not out there, with the expectation that, you're going to end up with a 15, 17 sack type thing because he's the star and everything's built around him. He brings that to Pittsburgh. He brings that lunch pail. And oh, by the way, if I don't come correct every play, there's another dude waiting in the wings who you might not ever heard of yet, but he is absolutely a professional football player that'll eat this lunch that I brought in this pail.
That's right. That's LT. I don't think we'll get a copyright strike for that, but I thought since you said crazed dogs, I should get that LT drop in there for you. Okay, man, having a great time talking Steelers. Cannot wait for week 1, which we've got to be, 4 weeks away now? 3.5 weeks away. Unbelievable how quick it's moving in here.
God, I'm getting like the preseason stuff is not usually something that I get that geeked about, but we were like, we forgot about the time difference with the Hall of Fame game, and we threw that up, and it was just like, holy crap, we already missed 2 quarters. Now we're talking about Tesla and what's trended on Twitter, and like, how deep in this do you want to go? Like, let's nerd out.
Oh, dude, preseason game 1, that is a massive nerd session coming for you on Sunday. Till then, you can get our latest videos, written words, and socials on the knollroad.com. Until then, we'll see you on the Knoll Road.